Gerade 7 Mann hoch war, sprach sie schon 2 Grundsätze aus. Erstens, sie wollte eine wahrhaftige Weltanschauungspartei sein. Und zweitens, sie wollte daher kompromisslos die einzige Macht und alleinige Macht in Deutschland.
Hitler looted hundreds and hundreds of beautiful works of art. World War II was a time of great tragedy and a lot of death. However, it was also a war of theft. Jewish families got stripped of the art they owned and had nothing left. Artwork was stolen, Jewish families driven out of their homes, belongings taken away, and concentration camps. All of these were occurrences that happened to many individuals during the war. When art was stolen, so were their identities. The question is, how did these works of art really affect them, and what purpose did the art serve to the lives of many Jewish people during the war? Pre-war Germany was a time of laughter, happiness, and acceptance. People were able to be with the people they loved and have fun. The art that later would be labeled as degenerate was accepted and loved by so many people. A time of no worries and no war. The thought of being sent to a camp that acted as a death sentence never crossed the minds of the people that would later be sent to them. But sadly, all that changed when Hitler came into power in 1933. Unfortunately, Hitler's work and determination to rise to power paid off. He became very popular to the German people, and the Nazi Party gained a lot of attention as well. Britannica Encyclopedia made it known that the party became the second largest in the country, rising from 2.6% of the vote in the national election of 1928 to more than 18% in September 1930. This popularity earned Hitler a position as Chancellorship of Germany. When Hitler eventually did come into power, he created a dictatorship, and anyone that did not agree with him were killed. Eventually, Britannica explained that Hitler's purpose was to expel the Jews from the Greater German Reich. In 1941, this policy changed from expulsion to extermination. The concentration camps created under the Nazi regime were thereby expanded to include extermination camps such as Auschwitz. The amount of Jews that were killed was unbelievable, and was said that the casualty rate made it to 6 million. The conditions that these groups of individuals had to go through were horrific, such as having to work all day and night while barely getting enough food to survive. The concentration camps that they were sent to destroyed them, and while some made it out, others did not. This unfortunate time happened to a Jewish man named Max Silberberg. Life eventually ended tragically for him, but Silberberg lived a very inspiring life, a life that included art. Art for Silberberg was very important, and later went on to have multiple collections of art. However, it did not start that way. In 1878, Max Silberberg was born into a poor family. With owning a small family store, the family barely got by. Silberberg worked in the store until he went into the military as a young man. When he got back, he started to work for a company that produced coal. He worked his way up in the company and ended up marrying Joanna Weisenberg, the co-founder of the company's daughter. They had a son together, Alfred. As time went on, Silberberg became head of the company, giving his family a comfortable lifestyle. He started getting interested in art and started to study it. In doing so, Silberberg participated in collecting art. His collection grew and grew over time and was hung in their home. The most important piece of art that survived all throughout the war was Camille Pissarro's Le Boulevard Montmartre Matinée de Ponto. Due to Silberberg's story and the talent of Pissarro, the painting Le Boulevard Montmartre Matinée de Ponto gave purpose to Max Silberberg and deserves to be displayed for everyone to see. Camille Pissarro was a well-known artist of his time. Critics during his time as an artist thought highly of him, especially Emile Zola, by saying, "Camille Pissarro is one of the 3 or 4 great painters of the time. He possesses solidity and breadth of touch. He paints handsomely, following tradition, like the masters. I have rarely encountered a science more profound." As known by Oxford Art, Pissarro was born into a Jewish family of French, originally Portuguese descent, and was essentially a self-taught artist. With his talent, he painted Le Boulevard Montmartre Matinée de Ponto in 1897. This painting is best explained by the curator of the Royal Academy of Arts, Anne Dumas.
It's painted quite late in his life. He was 67. This is one of a series of 14 paintings of Paris, and I think it is one of the very greatest. Pissarro becomes interested in the notion of painting in series, initially taking his cue from Monet. I think one of the driving forces of Impressionism was a fascination with light and with atmosphere. In these series, Monet, Sisley to some extent, and Pissarro particularly, they take a single motif and explore it in different conditions of light and weather. This one is spring morning. In February of 1897, he rents a room, and when he looked out of the window to the left, he had this wonderful view, which is the view in the painting, straight down this long Boulevard Montmartre, which of course had been constructed in the 1860s as part of Haussmann's total redevelopment of Paris.
Pissarro's memorable painting was loved by Zilberberg, and he was devastated when he got it taken away from him. The auction organization, Sotheby's, explains that the collector was forced by the Nazi authorities to consign most of his wonderful collection, including the Pissarro piece, to a series of auctions at Paul Grape's auction house in Berlin in 1935 and 1936. After Zilberberg's art was looted, he and his wife Joanna were sent to the Auschwitz concentration camp, which resulted in their death, and their son Alfred was arrested and taken to a camp as well. However, he was able to be released if he fled the country with his wife Gerda immediately after his punishment at the camp, which is exactly what he did. This left the painting in the hands of John and Francis L. Loeb after the auction, which ended up in very good hands.
By Pissarro, Le Boulevard Montmartre.
This is the auction that occurred in 2014 for the Pissarro painting to be auctioned off. However, before that, after the Loebs bought Pissarro's painting, they donated it to the Israel Museum in 1985. When the museum found out that there was still a member of the Zilberberg family alive, they returned it immediately. Gerda, Alfred's wife, was the last Zilberberg living, and the painting and Gerda were finally reunited. The painting being displayed, however, has not had luck in being placed in a museum. This is because Gerda decided to donate the painting to the auction organization, Sotheby's, to be auctioned off, and was bought by a private bidder. This painting deserves to be displayed in a museum, and although Gerda got to make her own decision, her father-in-law's story deserves to be told, which cannot be done if a private owner has it hanging in their home. The beauty of the painting and importance of the story can be in a museum. Even though Hitler had the power to loot hundreds and hundreds of works of art back then, it did not give him the power to take away the impact and meaning that it gave to many individuals during the war.